By the name of the great misters Ahmed al-Buni, Saint Augustine, Emir Abd al-Qadir, and the greatest lady, Saint Monica. Bonjour, mesdames et messieurs, et bienvenue, chers nous téléspectateurs, à notre émission, le XXIe siècle, l'ère de lumière. Aujourd'hui, j'ai l'immense plaisir d'accueillir un invité spécial. C'est un docteur américain universitaire spécialisé en sociolinguistique, en philosophie et en SP, English for Specific Purposes. Monsieur le docteur Mohamed Ali Khan, nous vous souhaitons toujours la bienvenue ici à Annaba, la coquette de la Méditerranée. Et vous remercions d'avoir accepté notre invitation pour cette interview journalistique. Good morning, my dear professor, and welcome again to our beautiful show, the 21st century, the age of enlightenment. First of all, our audience want to know more details about you. Could you please introduce yourself to them?
Thank you very much. First of all, it is my honor to be invited here on this wonderful channel and being introduced by you. So my name is Muhammad Ali Khan. I'm a full-time professor at an American university. And besides American University, I also work for Department of State, United States of America. Currently, I'm serving as a Fulbright Scholar in Faculty of Letters and Languages in Badji Mokhtar University. And I feel it as a great honor for me and for my country, United States of America, to be able to serve this great nation.
You keep reminding me of your greatness. You are great and brave. Now it's time for questions. Here we start. How the international academic exchanges like your visit to Algeria contribute to enhancing intellectual dialogue between different cultures?
Well, that's a great question. So I will give you an answer based on my classroom experiences. Currently, I'm teaching sociolinguistics and English for specific purposes to undergraduate students. So while teaching evaluation and assessment, I was sharing the practices of evaluation and testing in America with my students. And the students were talking about their quizzes in Algeria. So there was a dialogue, intellectual dialogue between myself and with my students. And I was telling them how many times in America students are evaluated. They have quizzes 10 times in a semester. And my Algerian students were 10 times. How many times do you have quizzes? They said, we have quiz one time. So one of the students said, why 10 times? Then I explained to them, we make sure that our students read a lot. It's a high reading culture. So we want to bring in tests not to scare a student, but to help them read more. And I did share that I have my students who read 600 words per minute in the United States. They take a book over a weekend and return me with an outstanding understanding. So this is one example of intellectual dialogue.
Yeah.
I'll give you one more. I know you're in a rush. I'll give you one more. Talking to my colleagues in Badji Mokhtar University, I was talking to them that, hey, try to look English as not being the language of United States of America, UK, New Zealand. Try to see English belonging to all of us. And then we had a great discussion in that talk when I suggested that English can be a language of instruction in higher education in Algeria. So just to give you an example of when academic exchange takes place, intellectual exchange is a must. And I'm having rich exchange with a student like you, with your audience, and with my colleagues.
How can sociolinguistics help us understand the influence of society on language and its development?
Yeah, it's a great question. So usually as language teachers, they give a lot of importance to teaching of grammar, which is very important, nothing wrong in it. But the real language that takes place in society is a messy language. It's a language where biases are used. It's a language where discrimination is used. It's a language where people judge you based on your nationality. It's a language on which people judge you based on your accent. So sociolinguistics prepare you to become a communicator, not in the classroom, but in the real life, at the immigration, at the hospital, at the tourist. So it's extremely, extremely important that you prepare your learners, not for classroom, but for life.
Yeah.
So you got it?
Yeah, I got it. So what role does philosophy play in guiding societies towards critical thinking in our current era?
Critical thinking is your ability to assess and solve problems. So if you become sociolinguistically aware, if you do not see language away from people, then you become critical thinker. If I'm coming to a country and I'm saying, hey, just remove all your languages and use only English, I'm not a critical thinker, because people are emotionally attached to their languages, their identity. So a critical thinking means you assess, you evaluate, and then you suggest something. So sociolinguistics make you critical thinker about communication. Communication is rarely neutral, rarely. It has got a lot of politics, communication all the time.
How do you view the relationship between language and identity in multicultural societies, and what is its impacts on new generations?
Oh, it's a great question. In Algeria, this is what I see. When I talk to elders, I see them deeply connected to their Arabic identity, and I understand it, and their heritage of French language as well. When I meet 20 years old or 25 years old, I see them now speaking English, writing in English and French and Arabic at the same time. So I see a chalk and cheese difference. So I clearly see, as a sociolinguistic, I see two, I would not say two different nations, I would say two different streams which are flowing parallel. And the modern generation, they know French, they know Arabic. What they have done is they have added one more language. And that's what I would say enlightenment.
Yeah. What challenges does language face as a medium of expression in the age of technology and instant communication?
So what happens in the modern age of technology, if you notice, modern technology gives you options. Modern technology is not all about English. Well, you don't want to use English, you use Arabic on Facebook. So modern technology gives you a lot of options. It depends on the user. But what I notice is, after ChatGPT, after AI, generative AI, I see the languages are same. People are responding. My Madagascar student and my American student and my Algerian student, all three write to me, and I cannot tell me who is Algerian, who is Malagasy, and who is American. So we're talking about in the age of generative AI. Everything is done through the patterns done by computer through hyper speed. So try to understand the modern people of your age. For them, they have many options, but this does not mean that they are liquidating their identity. You are very much based on your identity. You love your Algerian identity. She loves her Algerian identity. Yet at the same time, she has many options and she uses the technology so very well.
How do you interpret the role of social media in shaping language and guiding societal thought?
Some people say social media is all about shaping the society. Yeah, the argument is right because the language in social media is very different, and the language of social media has changed the language which is taught in classroom. If you compare what is taught in a traditional classroom and the language that you use in the social media are different. The emojis and the emoticons and the way you express the phrases, fixed phrases that you use are pretty different. So yes, social media has changed the way people communicate. And the good thing is these forums, social media, here I would support social media, they have communication guidelines. You cannot go beyond their communication guidelines. You have to respect the forums communication guidelines. So I would say, yes, I'm in favor of social media communication, and this is how people should communicate. You're not going to write an essay on social media, will you? No. You're going to be short, sweet, the way communication takes place.
Do you think today's youth are more interested in philosophy and sociolinguistics? If yes, what attracts them to these fields?
Oh, the current generation, as I said, we are in an age of AI, generative AI. And the modern generation, they know how to communicate. They know the philosophies. They know sociolinguistics because they do it every single second.
What
I will give you a
attracts
quick
them?
example. A previous generation would probably spend 2 hours in communicating with somebody in 3 months. A modern generation, a current generation, they spend hours and hours communicating with the rest of their life. So they know the philosophy, they know the identity, and they know the language of communication.
What attracts them to these fields?
Well, this is what the bandwagon is. This is what the world is going in that direction. It's a different mode of communication, and they are attracted because they belong to this world. They don't want to be left behind. They don't want to be called as caveman.
How can the academic community help raise awareness about the importance of language as a tool for understanding and interacting with reality?
Well, that's the problem. I would say I'm from academia, yet I will say that the academia is the one which takes time to catch up with things. So they're a little slow, but this doesn't mean that the world's entire academia is like that. The ones who've created social media, then the ones who have created AI, they are the product of academia. So academia knows itself what are the values, but it looks to some of the modern people that academia is very slow. I do feel that not the world's academia, because you all come from that academia. We all come from that academia.
What values can Algerian society gain from understanding philosophy in language and sociolinguistics?
Well, my communication has been uh, limited to my students in Annaba, in Badji Mokhtar, and my colleagues. Based on that, I find them as grounded in philosophy as anybody on planet Earth. I've taught in more than 10 countries, and these students of Badji Mokhtar are as bright as any student, be it an American student or a British student. They're very bright, they know what they're talking about, and they're promising. So I'm really impressed, I would say.
Yeah, the last question. What skills or abilities should sociolinguistics develop to understand evolving societies?
Oh, that's a great question. I think I would need 1 or 2 minutes to respond to this question. So, if you are a sociolinguist, you start respecting people. You start respecting their languages. You start respecting their background, their history, and you talk to them in ways which shows that you truly, genuinely respect them. So this is sociolinguistics, an awareness of how language works within society. And remember, language is a key component of a person, of a community. So if you're sociolinguistically trained, you will be accepted by other people, will love you because you're respecting others. You're not devaluing their language resources. I got a lot of love in Algeria because I bring a sociolinguistic perspective. I value Arabic, I value French, I value English, I value their identity, I value their history. So this is what a sociolinguist does. Not only speaking English, people are not going to value anybody. You have to value others in order to be valued.
Great.
Yeah.
Finally, my distinguished professor, I would like to appreciate your presence today and your proficiency and your academic expertise you demonstrated when responding to my questions. And now, besides, I invite you to give us a small statement about the great Algerian nation and the powerful, the strongest, and the global language, of course. Yes, it is the English language.
Yeah.
The voice is yours.
Thank you once again, and I would be thankful to the media outlet to give me this opportunity to connect with the wider audience. I'm truly, truly humbled and honored. About my statement on Algerian nation, I'm not in a position to do it, but quickly I can tell you a 30-second story of my mother, my Algerian mom. Her name is Nasima. So I go to her and I tell, Mom, I'm not hungry. I want to do some work. So my mom says, she smiles back and she sits by me. And then she says, well, this shakshuka is for you. I said, Mom, I told you I don't want to eat. She says, that's fine. That's the language she speaks with me. And then one day she takes me to Al-Khala with my wife and I, and she introduces us to her family. And while coming back, she tells me the story of the war of liberation. And I happened to say, I said, Mom, 1 million people died. And she corrected me, not 1 million, more than 1 million. And then in my conversation with my mom, I learned about Algeria, what a great nation she is. I will tell you last bit. So yesterday I was talking to her and she started telling me all about economics and politics of the world. So I said, Mom, how do you know so much about the economics and politics of Europe and America and this place and that place? How do you know so many things? She smiled and she said, my son, I love reading. And I was so impressed. Her husband was sitting and her husband added, she also loves internet. And and this is how I'm learning about Algeria nation. And in the end, she comes to me and she said, this bowl, she gives me a bowl with noodles, this bowl in my house is named after you now. So that's, food is not a way of sustenance. Food is a way of saying love, care, and above all, you are a family. So I feel that I'm in a great nation. Algeria for me is my mom, Nasima, my Algerian mom, my students, my teachers. I feel so honored. It's a great country with a lot of promises to make.
What about the great language, the international language, the English language?
Yes, I feel that a lot of Algerians have to understand that English belongs to everybody. They have to understand that English does not belong to America or to Canada. English belongs to everyone. The university in France, Sorbonne, the university in Germany, all offering English medium courses. Will you believe it? The entire Europe, the entire Asia, and even in your neighborhood. So the universities have moved on to teaching English language courses, not only offering their degree programs in English. So Algerians need to understand by adding English, their French will not die, their Arabic will not die, their identity will not change.
وفي الختام نجدد شكرنا وامتناننا لضيفنا العزيز الدكتور الأمريكي محمد علي خان على رحابة صدره وتخصيصه جزءا من وقته الثمين لنا ومشاركتنا أفكاره النيرة والمستنيرة. وكما نشكر معهد الأفدياس للغة الألمانية، وكذلك نؤكد كل التأكيد علو كعب اللغة الإنجليزية فيما يتعلق بالتواصل العالمي. إنها اللغة الكونية العالمية، ليست لغة قارية أو محلية ببساطة. ولكي نلخص الحكاية، حينما يلتقي شخصان من شرق العالم أو من غربه، من شماله أو من جنوبه، فالاختيار سيقع على الإنجليزية. إنها اللغة العالمية، تتربع على عرش اللغات بكل جدارة واستحقاق. مشاهدينا الكرام، ما يسعني الآن إلا أن أقول لكم أستودعكم الرحمن الذي لا تضيع ودائعه. دمتم بصحة وعافية.
Mr. Aga Khan, you'll be granted a certification of achievement from your student Aga Khan.
Okay. Wow, that's a good. Yeah?
Yeah.
Oh, what an honor. Thank you. Thanks, everyone. Thank you.